support.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, thanks for your support. Wait, hold on.
Are you okay?
Yeah,
All right,
thank you.
so I was just gonna ask you a quick question right
Oh,
there. Hi guys.
Welcome back, guys.
Today we're gonna be talking about a tipping culture in America. Let's get into it.
can we talk about tipping culture and the weirdest place that you've ever been asked to tip really quick? I went shopping for my wedding dress like a week and a half ago, and I ended up finding my dress at the first store that I went to. And I'm not joking, when I went to go pay, they flipped their little iPad around and it asked for a tip. When I tell you, like, I full on froze, I stood there and I think they saw, like, the blood leave my body. I did not expect to have to, like, tip buying a wedding dress. And mind you, the store was empty. Like, it was me, my best friend, and then the three people that worked there. I think one was the owner and then just two stylists or something. So it was just empty. It was just them three at the front and then me just paying. And I think my best friend was to the side, like, looking at more dresses. So like I just kind of stood there, and luckily I speak a different language, and my best friend bought a wedding dress at a different store like sometime last year. So in a different language, I looked at her and I said, "Hey, did you tip when you bought your wedding dress?" And she was like, "No." And then I was like, "Did they ask you to tip?" And she said, "No." So then I was like, "Oh my God, like I really don't think you're supposed to be tipping when you buy like a wedding dress." So I'm just kind of like standing there trying to do math in my head because the dress is already expensive, right? And then like a 10% on like a $1,500, $2,000 dress is like another $200. And if the dress is even more, you're paying a couple $100, which I guess if you can afford like a $10,000 dress, maybe a tip isn't that big of a problem. But most people really can't, right? Like my mom's the one who paid for my dress. I was just the one that was paying for it on my Amex trying to get those points. Anyway, I just stood there, and so I was like, okay, I'm not going to tip a couple $100 because that's a lot. And again, why am I tipping at a bridal store? So then I'm doing math, and I'm like, maybe I'll just like press custom and just do like a $50 tip, which I think ends up being like 1.5%, which is like almost embarrassing. But I'm like, also, if you guys think your stylist deserves a tip, why don't you just give her commission instead of asking me to tip? Or maybe I'm wrong. Like, have any other brides ever tipped when they bought their wedding dress? I don't know. Maybe I'm being kind of weird, but I just don't feel like that was like a service that I guess she brought dresses out to me, but I did that when I worked at stores. Like, I just got commission off selling clothes to people. Like, nobody was tipping me at a retail store. I don't know. Tipping is kind of weird lately.
It is.
Yeah, I agree. The tipping culture in America has definitely been getting out of hand, and I haven't really started to notice it until I think after COVID hit is when it started to get really
It got
bad.
worse.
I don't know what happened. It went from just the normal, you sit down in a restaurant, you pay a tip, you take a taxi or some sort of like Uber, you pay a tip. Um, Very basic stuff you would pay a tip, but it's very weird that they're saying,
Wait a minute,
"Hey,
for Uber? You tip
yeah,
for Uber?
yeah, like when you order like Uber Eats, you pay a
Oh,
tip. If
okay.
you, I think when you would go somewhere in an Uber, I don't really use Uber that often, but I'm assuming that you would give a tip as if you were riding a taxi. That would be normal.
That's weird.
When you when
We
you
don't
sit down and get served, you obviously leave a tip. Um, I think it's kind of weird that they're like, "Hey, you gotta tip for
tip.
everything now." And it's weird because I've never been in a retail store where I'm buying clothes, whether it's a suit or just normal clothes at any retail store or a boutique or whatever. I've never paid a tip for anything. Did you have to pay a tip for your wedding dress?
No,
Yeah, so
that's stupid. You gotta pay so much money just for the tip.
it's so expensive for a dress, and it's weird. It's like the employers are trying to pass off the payment to the customers. They're expecting customers
Mhm.
to tip people out. And it's getting crazy because now it's like you go to a coffee shop, you got to pay a tip now, or at least it's expected. They'll be like, "Hey, it's going to ask you a little quick question." And then same thing with smoothie. I notice it in smoothie stores. They'll be like, "Hey, it's going to ask you a question."
That's true. It's weird because if you don't like give a tip and then they're gonna look at you so bad and you're like, oh, maybe I should give a tip. It
Yeah, I
just put
know.
you in a spot and it's very
Plus, you
uncomfortable.
might, plus a lot of people like this girl, she's probably like kind of intimidated and they kind of standoffish. They don't want conflict. So they feel like they have to give a tip to deconflict so they don't feel bad.
Yeah.
And some places, as food places, it's like, man, if I don't give a tip, sometimes in the back of my mind, I even think about it. I'm like, man, if I don't tip the smoothie person like $1 or something, are they going to spit in my drink or something, or spit in my food? I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying that they would do that, but it's like, you never know how crazy people are. You might be going to that one store with that one person who it's like, oh man, he didn't leave me a tip. I'm spitting in his drink or food or whatever,
I
you know?
think the place that we got tipped was we got tipped was like that ice cream place that we used to go. They just literally
Oh yeah,
just give you a scoop of ice cream on top of your
yeah,
cone and they ask to sign the receipt and it says how much you want to tip.
yeah. And that ice place too. We go to an ice place
Oh yeah,
and
that's
they recently
true.
started flipping like
The
the
iPad.
iPad, the whatever
That's
tablet saying,
stupid.
"Hey, want to leave a tip now?" And that just recently started happening.
That's
I
not
think
happening in my
I think we
country.
first started noticing it when we went to LA, right? So when we went
Yes,
to
it was
LA a
weird.
couple years ago, so like shortly after COVID hit, you know, we noticed at a self checkout, and I don't know if it was at the LA airport or if it was at an airport on the way.
Yeah.
There, we were self checking out like some water and some snacks, and then
It
it
asked for a
asked for a
tip
tip. It's like who are you gonna tip?
yourself.
Yeah, and that's when I started to realize it's getting out of control. But
That is
we keep
stupid.
seeing stories online about how bad it's getting and how much worse it's getting.
That's
But
stupid.
all right, yeah.
But
Before you know it, YouTubers are gonna be,
they were like, just
yeah,
tip us.
just leave us a tip, you know,
Yeah,
trying to
that's
make you feel
weird.
bad.
I feel like in America, you have to even pay if you want to breathe air. So that's
Yeah,
that's not
pay for water,
weird.
pay for everything.
It's just so crazy.
Yeah,
Like
but
in my country, it's not like that at all.
before we go on to the next part of the video, it's just gonna ask you a quick question here. Just ignore this bottom part here. That's not necessary. Just look at the rest there. Oh, okay. Just choose how much you want, and we'll move to the next part.
Oh my God.
See how silly? I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
don't forget to leave a tip.
All right, let's look at it. Let's look at a couple more TikToks and see what people are saying about this.
I am so over tipping. It's gone too far. And so here's my new perspective, my new strategy when it comes to tipping. Number one, I am not tipping anywhere where they ask me to tip before I experience the service. For example, I went and got a $9 smoothie the other day, and right when I was like ordering my smoothie, I was like, oh, I'll get the breakfast smoothie. Then they're like, okay, it's just gonna ask you a few questions. The answer is no. One, y'all haven't made my
Hmm.
smoothie. Two, I haven't tasted my smoothie. Three, I don't even know if I'm gonna like this smoothie yet. Why am I tipping? Like, I'm not tipping.
She's
Also,
right.
it's a
Yeah.
smoothie. It's not like a sit down restaurant. Like, what are we doing? There's a lot of places that make sense to tip, like restaurants. You experience the food, you experience the service, you're sitting down, you're being served. Of course, you leave a tip there. But again, that tip is based off the experience. Okay? Same thing. Nail salons. You get your nails done, you pay and you tip based off the service. Okay? I'm not tipping preemptively. So that goes for coffee shops where they turn it around, ask you questions, ice cream shops, anywhere like that. Ice cream shops
Mm.
alone is just a no for me.
Yeah,
You scooped my ice cream for 15 seconds and put it in a cup. Like, I'm not,
that's what
no.
I said.
You guys are paid hourly. Like, hourly rates. If they're not enough, talk to your employer. But why is that burden being put on the consumers? I will never understand. As a business owner, imagine if every single time you guys bought a planner from my site, it was like, oh, just leave a tip. Leave a tip for what? We hand make all your planners, and I'm still like, leave a tip for what? No.
That's
She's
true.
mad.
That's true. Yeah, she's getting pretty heated about it.
It doesn't make
I agree.
sense.
I feel like a lot of the times that you pay a tip, you have an experience first. Whether that's you go sit down, you dine, you have a waitress or waiter waiting on you, and you experience that experience. You pay a tip. You go get a haircut if it's good or bad, however you feel about it, you give a tip.
Tip it,
Same
yes.
thing with like a taxi or an Uber. You drive somewhere, they get you there fast, you give a tip. Like
Makes
it
sense.
makes sense.
Yeah, she's absolutely right. I feel like it's really getting out of hand.
It's not like this in your country, right? You said?
No. I mean, you have
Yeah.
to tip if you go sit in a restaurant or like a taxi or something, but you don't
This whole
tip for,
taking the iPad, turning it around on every
yeah.
little thing, and oh, even self checkout. Oh, give a
Self-checkout
tip.
is crazy. Yeah, no, it's not like that at all. I feel like they're just trying to make money out of
I know.
everything.
I feel like
So,
the employers are really trying to get away with paying their employees less, and they're trying to get people to tip more so they can legally pay less
yeah,
than
and
what they're supposed to.
benefit
But
out of it, you
I
know.
mean, I could be wrong, but that's kind of the feeling I'm getting with this insane tipping culture we're going into. Let's look at one more TikTok that's talking about it. It's fine. There you
For
go.
what?
Just like the airport.
Thank you for your service. Oh, thanks for your support. Wait, hold on.
Are you okay? Yeah, All right, so I was just gonna ask you a quick question right there.
Here's your check. Um, Suggested gratuity is $100. And let's say that you did tip me that $100. It would have been a pleasure to serve you. Now, if you don't tip me the $100, then it's not. So, yeah, let's get it done.
Oh my God. I love that army guy walking by. Like,
Thank
thank
you for
you
your
for service.
service. Oh, hold on one second.
It's
It's
crazy.
just it's just it's just playing on the tipping culture and how bad it's getting. Like
Why is it doing
it's
that?
getting so out of hand. And the suggested gratuity at the end, that reminded me a lot of restaurants now are actually making it mandatory to give a certain gratuity. Like, oh, hey, you come to this restaurant, you dine here, automatic 25%
Yeah,
regardless.
there is
That's
actually
happening a lot too.
there is one
So,
restaurant that we go to. They just added themselves and they're like, you have to pay this much, otherwise they're not giving
yeah,
your food to
they
you.
don't even give you a choice. So,
That's crazy.
it is getting pretty out of hand. I
Mm-hmm.
can't believe it. And then the videos are joking, but it's just like at the same time it's getting to the point where you can't go anywhere
Yeah, because you feel
without
bad.
without seeing someone asking for a tip. It's
That's
just
true.
and I mean in a lot of cases like with self checkout and some of those things I won't even leave a tip and probably leave
Why
like
would you leave a tip for what?
that's what I'm saying. Like you wouldn't leave a tip for that. But some of the other things too, it's like I go get a coffee, I get an ice cream, I never leave a tip.
Me too. That's weird.
But it's just like it's weird to see all these places expecting it. And
Expecting, yeah.
yeah, hopefully they're just not doing anything to your food or drinks, you know.
Look, oh, he didn't tip. Let me spit on
Because it's just
it.
like I don't know what the expectation is anymore. And I feel like it's getting to the point where people can't afford to just tip on everything anyway. It's like
No,
25% tips on everything you get when everything's already
that's
increased
not
by inflation by 25%. It's unreasonable.
that's not acceptable for sure. Well, let us know if you
Yeah,
ever been in that situation and how did you play it?
let us know how you feel about tipping culture in
Yeah,
America right now if you're here with us because it's not good
it's
in our
crazy.
opinion.
Mm-mm.
So,
I don't think anyone likes it.
but yep,
Alrighty.
until next time.
Have a good time.